So for the last few weeks, months, we've been told that Keri Starmer is pivoting towards some of reform's issues. So talking about migration. I mean, it wasn't so long ago he was saying, like, was it that the country is an island of strangers? And then he had to row that back. So they don't seem to know where they want to go. And this is a problem with the Labour electoral coalition, right, which probably doesn't exist anymore. I think Professor John Curtis had written a piece. He's a polling expert, I think Strathclyde University last week, saying the Labour coalition doesn't exist anymore. But their coalition that got them into power was working class Labour voters who absolutely have quite strong views on immigration, very many of them, and middle class, cosseted London, educated, public sector workers for whom, this is not a concern, and how you keep those two together. But it seemed like they were going down the path of trying to be reform light on some of this stuff. And yes, we hear you on migration and all the rest of it. And then to send that message out a couple of weeks and months ago to then now be, but actually it's kind of racist if you support reform's position on this, which a lot of public look at and go, well, that just seems really reasonable to me. The new Home Secretary was only talking about, making it harder for people to get indefinite leave to remain, making it harder for non-citizens to get access to benefits, I think. So I just find it really, really kind of confused. I could see it if they were trying to say, you know what, we've given up on the kind of traditional Labour base. We're now going to set ourselves up in the way that we talked about when the Lib Dems are trying to do us. We are the progressive force that's going to battle reform, of which 30 to 40% maybe of the public are absolutely in that space. So maybe it's a good electoral strategy, but I don't even think it was that, right? I mean, the Lib Dems, clearly that's where they're trying to position themselves. If you're a progressive, you have to vote for us. We're not interested in anybody who isn't a progressive. But I just seem to I think it was just stupid, just a silly thing to do.
I just wonder as well if it's doubling down. I saw, forgive me because I can't remember what it was on. I think it was on Laura Coombsburg. It might have been Sunday morning, where he made some sort of comments around this, and I wonder if he's just doubled down on it.
I mean, it's harder to sell it as a all concerned about racism, about immigration are racist, because I think the other thing that's changed is when the BNP had their kind of rise in the early 2000s, it was quite a nasty form of racism. It was it was really quite unpleasant. And they would then be able to find somebody who would go on and say some quite unpleasant stuff about immigrants. Whereas the kind of thing that struck me about the migrant hotel protests is quite a lot of them have been in middle class areas, where the people that have been interviewed on TV are very articulate, educated professionals who are, articulating their view on immigration in a really smart way, because these people are genuinely not racist and they're able to say that because they genuinely aren't. And I think that, so because the immigration issue has now not just hit working class communities, it's hitting more middle class areas, I think it's harder to sustain this argument. That said, I did have a Labour MP who texted me a couple of weeks ago who said, I think this is all so toxic, really dangerous. And he said, and I've had the first time in elected politics, I had somebody on the street say to him, you're just a N lover. He said, I actually had the N word used at me. And he said, I never thought I'd hear that in politics again. And I just thought, well, I don't know. This is, maybe some very unpleasant forces are also unleashed when you talk about immigration. But at the same time, it's not always racist to talk about immigration. So, maybe this is where some of this has been driven from.